Hey, good morning. I'm Patricia Murphy. It's Friday. This is Seattle Now. This week, it's Independence Day, and Washington has a complicated relationship with fireworks. Local retail giant Costco may be going to court for its affordable athleisure wear. And Visit Seattle as a new employee, Emerald, a generative AI program made to give recommendations to tourists. Factal editor Joe Veyera and UW professor and podcast host Jeff Shulman are here to break down the week. But first, let's get you caught up. Happy 4th. If you're headed to the big fireworks show at Gasworks Park, gates open at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Fireworks are set to go off around 10:15. Organizers would like you to take public transit, rideshare, or even cycle to the fireworks show, as traffic and parking can be quite a hassle. If you're into watching it on TV, tune in to KUOW TV beginning at 9. There are also fireworks shows tonight throughout the region, including Bellevue, Tacoma, and Everett. A King County proposal to build a crisis care center on Capitol Hill has faced some pushback from neighborhood businesses. Monday night, supporters of the proposed walk-in clinic are hosting a town hall at Vermilion to answer questions about it. It's hosted by State Representative Sean Scott. Panelists include Seattle City Council member Alexis Mercedes Rink and county officials. The site is a former polyclinic building at the corner of Broadway and Union. According to the Capitol Hill blog, the $50 million project will go before the county council this summer and could open as soon as 2027. And Monday is the final day on the job for Seattle City Council member Kathy Moore. She announced last month she's stepping down after spending only a year and a half in office. Council members will elect a replacement for Moore by the end of July. That person will serve until November 2026, when North Seattle voters elect a council member to finish out Moore's term, which goes through 2027. Check back for more headlines on tonight's episode of Seattle Now. It's Friday again. It's America's 249th birthday this week, but if you ask me, the country doesn't look a day over 200. Joe Veyera is here. He's an editor at Factal. Joe, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Jeff Shulman is here. He's a UW professor at the Foster School of Business. He hosted and produced 7 seasons of the Seattle Growth podcast and a Casual Friday first-timer. Jeff, welcome to the show.
It's great to be here.
We're going to take it easy on you today.
Thank you.
One of us.
Okay, you two, before we dive in, if you ever wanted to ask a travel expert questions about Seattle, you're in luck, depending on how you feel about AI. Visit Seattle recently launched Emerald, the so-called custom AI travel genius. It will answer all your questions about the city. Emerald is apparently fluent in 45-plus languages. Visit Seattle says it will be a great tool for people visiting from out of the country for next year's World Cup. Is this a helpful way to introduce tourists to our city?
I don't know if I see the need for it. And I say this as someone wearing a shirt that literally just says Seattle on it right now. I'm generative AI, your travel companion. So any questions, just send them my way. But for the purposes of this tool, I do see some use cases. If you're coming for the World Cup and you're here for an event and you're not necessarily looking to have a full Seattle experience, just have a free day, ask the AI. Maybe that's just what you're looking for.
All right, Jeff, what do you think?
I have to geek out for a second because I see what they're doing. Every large step starts with a small baby step. And so in the future, where everybody could get personal recommendations for our vast city that's got so many different nooks and crannies to enjoy, I could see it getting there. Where it is right now, it just gives you what you would expect from Google, what you would expect from anybody. But you can't get to that utopia unless you start somewhere.
Okay, good point. Good point. We played around with Emerald just a bit, and we asked one question that out-of-towners are always trying to answer. What are some places in Seattle that aren't tourist traps? And here's what it told us. Its answer was El Centro de la Raza in Beacon Hill, Seattle Bouldering Project, Porch Light Coffee and Records on Capitol Hill, Fremont Mischief Distillery, and Bottle House in Madrona. I appreciate the El Centro de la Raza recommendation. It wouldn't be an obvious one for me, but they do have some amazing art in that building. The rest of the list, I'm curious. Does this feel like a solid interpretation to you? Are those recommendations you would give?
Not really. I'll give a shout out to Porch Light. I have a Smith Tower print on my wall from Porch Light that I absolutely love.
Yeah.
But when I'm thinking non-touristy things, I'm like the Ballard Brewery District, take the water taxi from downtown over to West Seattle and go to Marination.
Brilliant.
Volunteer Park, Discovery Park, things that are a little more off the beaten path that really they capture the city, but they're not touristy. They're just day-to-day life.
Yeah.
And my first question hearing that list is it real? I mean, AI hallucinates. I've never heard of any of those spots. I'm not hip enough or something. But if they're real, then maybe that's great recommendations. I don't know.
Yeah. And I think that raises another question. What's feeding the information that it is now spitting out?
Yeah.
Because, like, I was thinking about, like, the hallucinating aspect of AI. And it's like, well, what if AI has watched Sleepless in Seattle and thinks that you can take a boat from, your houseboat on Lake Union over to Alki without an issue, and you can drive north on the Fremont Bridge like Meg Ryan does and end up in West Seattle.
And you're hosed.
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
that's my question.
That's a good question.
Did either of you mess around with Emerald?
I did.
All right. What'd you ask?
I asked, can you stay in Tacoma if you want to go visit most of Seattle? And I'm curious what you would say before I tell you what Emerald said.
I say the answer is yes, if you are willing to travel during off-peak hours.
Okay, so it has a caveat.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah, Tacoma is an awesome place to hang out. It's a cool city, but the trek up to Seattle is a deal breaker for me a lot of times.
Yeah, absolutely. So AI said, yes, absolutely. It's only a 40-minute train or a 40-minute car, bus. But I went to Tacoma recently to interview a #1 New York Times bestselling author that we have in our backyard here.
Yeah.
And it was a 2-hour journey from Seattle to Tacoma. So I could not tell anybody, save a few bucks and stay in Tacoma unless you want to visit Tacoma.
Yeah.
Well, I love how aspirational this tool is. 40 minutes. Okay, great.
It really is. And again, it does make you wonder where it's getting its information.
Yeah.
Because
Google Maps at 2 a.m, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, for real. Would you be offended if someone coming into town asked Emerald for recommendations instead of you?
Yes.
No.
All right. I also asked for a daily Seattle news podcast, and I'm not going to tell you what it said. Just know that it was the right answer.
Excellent.
All right, moving on to the big story of the week. Today is Independence Day, the day where people love to blow some up. The neighborhood fireworks started about a week ago, but today will be the big show for some cities. Fireworks are hard to get away from this time of year. Jeff, what's your neighborhood like?
Oh, gosh, there are fireworks at all hours from starting like June 15th till August. It's nonstop.
What about you, Joe?
Well, for me, it's been a few years since I've been in Seattle proper on the 4th, so I can't really say, but I hear them before and after.
Yeah. I have to ask you both before we go forward, where do you stand on fireworks as a rule?
A rule, I think they're great by the professionals. Wonderful to see and bring people together from all walks of life. Individuals should not be doing that.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay. All right. Do either of you have pets?
Yes.
What do your pets do on the 4th of July? I know this is a tough day for a lot of pets.
They bark.
Oh, you have dogs.
2 dogs.
Do you medicate them?
No, but I might have to. I'd love to learn more about that.
Yeah. I mean, for a lot of families with pets, they have to give them sedatives on the 4th. And actually, I just read an article in Axios about cautioning people about using CBD with their pets. It is effective, but you've got to be careful. So it's also a very hard time for veterans and people with PTSD and trauma. And they're straight up dangerous, right? Fireworks are straight up dangerous. Harborview Medical Center is gearing up for an uptick in injuries. They say they see about 55 people every year around this time for injuries in fireworks. Harborview officials told KUOW 7 the most common patients they get are young men and teenage boys. Did you grow up lighting fireworks off?
So it blew my mind moving here to Washington, where you see people use industrial grade fireworks that shoot all the way in the sky. I mean, we had firecrackers and cherry bombs, and it only took one experience. We had one lit, and it was going to go in the wrong direction, and my friend put his glove and tried to stop it. He went to the ER with the firework, trying to mess up with his hand. So, yeah, I don't want to be near anybody setting them off.
Wow. Wait a minute. Where did you grow up?
Ohio.
And how old were you when this happened?
Oh, gosh, it must be 4th grade, somewhere around there.
Oh, you were really young.
Yeah.
You were really young. And you guys
Don't tell my parents, now that I think about it, like 4th grade with friends lighting fireworks. What crowd was I with?
The statute of limitations has expired. You're okay.
They're okay
My parents will
with you
still
now.
love me?
You made it.
Okay.
You made it. Wow, that is wild.
Yeah.
That is wild. So that's pretty young. All right. Were fireworks part of your neighborhood, though? Was everybody doing it?
No, I think I must have been in a rough and tumble
You're
crowd.
an outlier. Okay. What about you, Joe?
Well, you can't see this if you're listening to it, but I do have all 10 of my fingers on me right now.
How many toes?
All 10.
Okay.
Believe it or not, I'm 20 for 20. But by the time Like when I was growing up, we had already banned fireworks in the city of Seattle. And that was not a trek that my parents were going to make out to purchase fireworks where you could do it legally. So wasn't part of my childhood really growing up. And, my appendages thank me for that.
Sure.
Yeah.
I did grow up using fireworks as a teenager. I grew up in New Jersey during the 70s and 80s. And I have to say, the 5th of July was our big day because when we were young, we didn't have any money for fireworks. So we would go down to the park the day after and pick up all the duds and light those off.
Oh, even safer.
Even safer, exactly.
They didn't work properly the first time.
They were due.
Well, and here was the secret. They all had, you would get these little ladyfingers, the little ones, right? They would all have really tiny, short fuses, but you would open up the fuse and dust out the gunpowder so you could light it and get away fast enough before it would blow up.
Okay.
That is dangerous, and nobody should do that ever, ever. KUOW also reminds us it's pretty much illegal to light your own fireworks without permission in most places in Washington.
Now that we have the legal disclaimers out of the way.
Yeah. I do have to say, I did have a friend who had a beach house, which was a very nice luxury to have a friend that has a beach house because then you don't have to maintain it yourself. And their neighbors on the 4th of July had like almost a professional grade fireworks show.
Yeah, man.
So I did enjoy it when they did it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well, and there are pro fireworks at Lake Union if you're willing to battle the crowd. Do either of you head down to Lake Union for the pro show?
I did a few years ago, and I lived near Gasworks Park at the time, and you could just go out onto the nearby streets and kind of see the whole thing without having to deal with the masses of people.
I used to walk down when I lived in Fremont. We would walk down the hill and watch them. What about you? Do you go anywhere for a pro show?
No, nowhere for a pro show.
Oh, you watch it on TV? You can watch it on TV even.
That's not the same.
It's not the same. I should shut my mouth. That's a misdemeanor right there. All right. Outside of Seattle, though, fireworks are legal in some areas. Along the Pacific coast, towns are bracing themselves for the crowds. Seattle Times says the coastal town of Long Beach is swarmed with people every 4th of July weekend because the public can legally drive on the beach and set off unlimited amounts of consumer fireworks. The police chief of Long Beach describes it as, quote, the opening salvo of the first Gulf War, which is oddly poetic for a fireworks display and also a tip-off about how old that guy is. Fireworks also generate a lot of trash. The Times says data from a beach cleanup nonprofit shows last year's Independence Day celebrations at Washington beaches generated nearly 5 times more garbage than those in California and Oregon combined. We are messy with our pyrotechnics. The Long Beach July 5th cleanup is already scheduled for this year.
Now, not to be a downer or to be canceled by the pro fireworks crowd, but how much of that trash ends up in the ocean anyway, regardless of the cleanup?
Right. That's a great point, Joe. And again, right, professional shows are the way to go. But even with those, I wonder, even if they're out on the water, where is all that stuff going? Mm-hmm. All that stuff. Is there a tourism benefit here? How do you think a proposal to regulate or ban fireworks might go down in a city like Long Beach?
I mean, now that I know that they're having that epic of a fireworks show, I might want to head down there one of these days. and of course, clean up afterwards.
Of course, absolutely.
Of course.
And keep a healthy distance from the people lighting it. All those things need to happen.
I think that might start out as a fun time, but alcohol and fireworks, I don't know, man.
I always panic, like with the amateur show that I was seeing, I was always panicking that maybe they'd accidentally tilt it towards our house.
We've done that with, as a teenager, I've done that. I fired bottle rockets into my house. I fired Roman candles into my neighbor's house. I should shut up.
Yeah.
I should just shut up right now.
Statute of limitations, I think he said.
Exactly. They can't get you now.
Finally, holy moly, the state is freaking dry this year. The State Department of Natural Resources was out this week begging people, for the love of God, not to burn Washington down with fireworks. That's a really important one because fireworks do start fires.
And it seems like fire season's happening earlier and earlier.
No kidding. Maybe we should go with the leading alternative, which are drones. I know people have lots of feelings about drones, so I'll just let you say first how you feel.
It's an interesting concept, but I think about like the SeaTac show from last year where they all just crashed. And, talk about a fire risk. Crashing drones is also probably not good for things.
Thankfully, they were, okay, just briefly for listeners who don't remember, last year's SeaTac drone show was a disaster when 55 drones fell out of the sky and into the lake. Thankfully, people weren't injured, but divers only found 48 of them.
And who knows what the fish are doing with the other 7.
Yeah.
I also have a sneaking suspicion that I can't let go that this was like nefarious interference with the signal, that somebody had a jammer.
This is what happens when you speak ill of fireworks. They'll crash your drones.
This year, though, the city decided to forgo the 4th of July show, and they're also going to close the park at 6 p.m.
That's probably still not going to work. I mean, the people lighting fireworks are not going to then say, oh, this park says it's closed. I'm not going to go there and light fireworks.
They are hoping people will gather during the day, but I am wondering,
6 p.m. is so early.
It is so early.
When it's dark at, 10?
Yeah. Do you think SeaTac made the right decision to cancel the show?
People are going to gather regardless of whether you have the show or not. At least when you're doing like some sort of municipal thing, there's a little more control to it.
Yeah.
Who knows like what's going to happen in SeaTac.
Yeah. And SeaTac's also experiencing chaos even without the drones. With less people attending the city's celebration, they expect more activity on private streets as people try to see the Angle Lake Shore Club's fireworks show. So there's another fireworks show going on that isn't the city's.
Feels like July 4th is really just about containing and pushing people towards some better decisions. Don't climb over your neighbor's fence.
Yep.
Don't fire fireworks into their house.
Those Roman candles close to your own property.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Yeah. What is so enticing about fireworks displays? Is there something that's sort of raw and powerful about it?
It's pretty.
It is pretty.
It is pretty.
I actually like the smell. I hate to say that.
Yeah.
I kind of like the smell.
I love the smell of gunpowder in the morning.
Oh, you got to come down to Aquaconac Park on July 5th. All right, moving on to our next topic. Washington retail giant Costco might be going to court with worldwide athleisure brand Lululemon. Lululemon says Kirkland Signature is making a dupe or a lower-cost knockoff of its apparel designs. Costco is known for its bargains, $1.50 hot dog, buying in bulk, and now cheap clothing made to look like the real thing. Professor Jeff, you're our new resident business expert. What are you thinking?
This is tricky because on the one hand, you want Costco to feel free to meet the needs of their customers. Mm-hmm. And on the other hand, you want Lululemon to be able to protect their investment so that they have incentive to keep investing to make products that people want and new technologies. So I'm conflicted on what should happen, but I do think the word dupe is a wonderful word. I don't know why. I first heard this month. So my daughter's birthday, she wanted a dupe Dyson hairdryer. And I was like, so a Dyson hairdryer? She's like, no, a dupe. And I'm like, what? So now I learned dupe and it just in time.
That's right. That's right. Costco's such a well-loved brand. Are you surprised by this accusation?
I thought Costco dupes were just kind of what they did. Mm-hmm, this was incredibly unsurprising to me.
Kirkland Signature? I mean, it's everything.
It's everything.
Kirker Lemon.
Everywhere.
I was calling it Kirker Lemon. One example in the lawsuit is that Lululemon sells a scuba hoodie for $118, and you can get a Costco version for about $8.
Now, I think we can all agree that if you're buying an $8 hoodie, there's an understanding that it's not going to be the quality of a $118 hoodie. Is the $118 hoodie worth however many times the cost is?
Yeah. That's a good point. Is it about looking like you can afford the $118 hoodie?
Yeah, there's several things that you get with that extra money. You get the reliability, knowing that they're putting their brand behind it and they stand behind it. And 2, you get the social signaling. Hey, this is an expensive hoodie. You lose that social signaling, I think, with some of these dupes. I think they're pretty clear that it's not that product, but you just get kind of the general look and vibe of it.
Social signaling.
Yeah.
I like that term.
It's how we all show that we are, cool, we're rich, we're powerful. Like
I'm in my public radio free T-shirt.
This flannel is from the Gap. I don't know what to tell you.
What are we signaling here?
So it's funny you say that, though, actually, because there is research, not to geek it up too much, but there is research on counter signaling, which is that you could show that you are really cool or have high social status by that you could get away with a KUOW T-shirt and a Seattle T-shirt.
I don't need Lululemon.
Yes, you don't need the $180 scuba shirt.
Wow.
Oh, I'm going to walk out of here with my head held so high.
Yeah, you're bleeding cool right now.
That is right. Not to mention stealth wealth, but that's a whole other level of social signaling. Jeff, it seems like there are dupes of things everywhere. Trader Joe's is filled with dupes. When is a dupe okay, and when does it become a potential legal issue?
You know, when you're tricking somebody into thinking that they're buying Fruit Loops, but they're buying Trader Loops or whatever.
Yeah.
And you have you're using the same Tasty-O's, Cheerios.
At Trader Joe's, they're Joe-O's.
Yeah.
I had a couple of dupe handbags that were pretty good for a while. And I have to say, you know, as far as dupes in the industry go, I used to work in the garment industry many, many years ago. I was routinely sent out to buy competitors' clothing that was then brought back, torn apart, seam from seam, to see what they were doing and how they were doing it.
Yeah.
You know, spying is alive and well, that's for sure.
It's a tale as old as time. Somebody is successful doing something. Somebody else wants to be successful. They try to do as similar to that as they can.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The New York Times Wirecutter was actually a bit ahead on this issue. They reviewed a pair of $20 men's Kirkland signature pants that looked suspiciously like a pair of Lululemon ABC pants, which retail for about $130. And they said the side-by-side was pretty similar, but the fabric is what sets them apart. Like you said, Joe, the ABC pants are built to last. Kirkland ones probably a little closer to fast fashion. Mm-hmm. If you're selling a $130 pair of pants, should you expect a dupe to come out?
I think that's the world we live in. I think if you do something well, you have to expect people are going to copy. And so in business, we call it building a moat, some way to protect yourself even when people take yours and take it apart and then try to build it themselves.
Yeah.
I think what I'm surprised about is that Lululemon's willing to take this to court and essentially admit that the dupes being produced are close enough that we need to protect it.
We're mad. Yeah, well, and it's not the first time. CNN points out in 2021, Lululemon sued Peloton for allegedly making similar looking apparel. Then 2 years later, in a classic enemies to lovers tale, the companies patched up their relationship and partnered to sell branded clothing.
I love that you just used the enemies to lovers. I got a shout out to my daughter who reads a ton of books, and she loves enemies to lovers. And so you just put that to business. Mind blown. Thank you for that.
If they start selling Lululemon at Costco at Lululemon prices, is it the consumer who loses?
I mean, no one's forcing any of us to pay $130 for a pair of pants.
I'm a big believer in letting the market set prices and letting people decide, is this worth the price? And as long as you're not deceptively advertising, saying that what this does, let people decide.
I think at the end of the day, what it comes down to for me is that if this becomes an expensive, protracted legal battle between Lululemon and Costco, and that impacts the price of the hot dog, that's when they've made an enemy out of me.
Don't mess with my $1.50 franc. All right, we are going to leave it there. Joe Veyera is an editor at Factal. Jeff Shulman is a UW professor at the Foster School of Business. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks so much.
Appreciate you listening to Seattle Now. Today's episode was produced by Vaughn Jones. It was edited by Caroline Chamberlain Gomez. Our production team also includes Andy Hurst, Brooklyn Jamerson Flowers, and Paige Browning. Greg Kramer does our theme music. Seattle Now and KUOW Public Radio are members of the NPR network. I'm Patricia Murphy. See you soon.